Good morning. Oh, I'm gonna make this one quick. It's just a follow-up to my last video on doing a bad floor installation. Floor's been finished now. This is the final product. Unfortunately for me, fortunately for me, I didn't have to buy this floor. My boss did. I just have to eat how it looks. Okay. Like I mentioned the first time, yes, there's no amount of putty that you can pour into a joint to make it look correct. It's still a joint that's uneven, filled with putty. And some of the putty jobs are better than others. But it still stands out. There's nothing in the world that's going to change that. Especially when you don't completely putty the joints. My boss asked me yesterday, should I even pay them for this? You know what? They got paid for the installation. The installation was a fail. I'd pay them for half of the finish. And I'd say that half of the finish comes out of half of the installation being run. Well, obviously it was a little more livid because the installation, oh, Jesus Christ, that looks like a fucking Mayan temple right there. I didn't even notice that. The installation is most of the finish. And like I said, you can pour putty on it and polyurethane all day, doesn't matter. You know, it's still installation, 80% of the finish. 80% of the job. Installation is the finish. Doesn't matter. You can poly it all day, you can sand it all day. Still just not good. And of course, yesterday I walked around and I pointed out some things. Like here, where the poly pooled because it wasn't brushed out. All right, it's one spot. I can live with that. But there's some other things that should have never been done in the first place. All right, let's open this up. Because with the daylight, it's still the only way to see that sheen. It still exists. Now, granted, the main is still better this time around, but the edge is still better, especially right around here. You can just see that roughness. You know, meanwhile, there's another gap here that was puttied, but it's just not good. Now, this is gonna be real hard to see on video, but right here, it's a lot of putty. And you can't really tell, but there's a lip here where they sanded up to the edge, but it's got a divot. Okay. Nobody sanded that gouge out. Now, this is in front of the back door. I'm not going to admit anything, but that was probably dragged in by somebody who had a rock or something on their shoe and twisted it into the floor. It's not as terrible as I thought it was going to be, but it's not as good as I thought it was going to be. I'm sure they tried to get that out. This is the front door where people have been coming in with their shoes covered in rocks. And this is the next thing. I'm sure you can see the swirls. Swirly bird marks from the edge sander, the orbital. And this is that horrendous joint that was in front of the front door. Well, let's just say the rest of it looks like this too. It's not very good. This was that split joint over here. I'm not even going to expose it for you. You don't want to see it. It's not very good. I don't have to buy this house, so I'm going to live with it. But I'm still going to continue to walk around and show you everything that I think is not acceptable. Oh, there's that screw. That's proud. And they putted it and sanded it and putted it again. Oh, there's another one. That one they managed to sink and putty. Now, here's the worst offender of the whole lot. I don't know what to call that. Do I call it a spider? Do I call it a vesica piscis? Because there's a lot of circles here. Lots and lots of them. I'm going to say vesica piscis. Swirly birds all over the place. And it's a little harder to pick up on video, but you should be able to see the swirl marks. This looks like a teenager's pimple face. You know, I could zoom out. You could still see the swirls in this. Somebody was pissed off at me this day because I told the owner of the company, what was your installer's first day? Because this is straight up Mickey Mouse shit. If you can't see the swirls, you're blind. This is not good. And yes, they filled the joints in, but it still doesn't eliminate the lines. The not staggering or the bad staggering of the joints. Now I understand complacency. If you've been doing this for 20-something years, eventually you just get in emotions. You go to work, you do your job, you go home, you drink a six-pack, you go to bed. You get up, you do it all over again. This section's actually not so bad. The stair stepping, I could live with that. But right next to it is this. So, I just want to point it out. If you're a professional, more swirly birds. If you're a craftsman, it's not even about being a professional, it's about being a craftsman. Ooh, I didn't even notice those yesterday, I just noticed them now. It's about being a craftsman. They say, there's an old Japanese fucking pronoun that says, the craftsman leaves no trace. Well, they left a trace here. They certainly left their fingerprints. Ooh, that's a bad putty joint. That one didn't even match. And it's not even about being a craftsman, it's complacency. You become complacent in what you do. And over time, it either makes you better or it makes you worse. Because complacency kills. That's what my first boss told me. Complacency kills. When you get complacent, this is very rough, very uneven. Another swirly bird right there. When you become complacent, the quality of your work suffers. And I feel like complacency is the one thing that killed this job. You can see the difference in the color. Literally, there's a dark band going through this section of the room here. Because they can only fit so much barrel sander in this room. And yet the edges, a lot smoother, a lot clearer. Because edge guy, better job. So, complacency kills. When you get better at your job, or you get worse at your job, you just, professionalism, craftsmanship. It's all a big part of the plan. And if this is what you choose to do, or you choose to run a business, you have to be considerate about that, about who you hire and the type of craftsman that you employ. I'm not trying to toot my own horn by any means, but stairs came out actually really a lot better than I thought they would. A couple spots where they could have set some nails a little better. Apparently they didn't think that was their job to do. But, when you want your product to come out correct, that is what you do. You go the extra mile. But it's about complacency, it's about craftsmanship, it's about professionalism. It's very rough. It's hard to tell, especially on video, but you can see, I don't know if you could see that round spot there where they let that edge sander grind a little better than they did everywhere else. But you should always be trying to be better. And I'm gonna lift the paper up here and pull it back. Because there's one spot right here in the corner that is just one of the worst offenders in the whole building. And of course, it's in the entranceway. Right here, you can just see this edge. You can feel it, it's terrible. Where that edge sander gouged out more in one spot than it did in the other spot. And there's places where you can see it better. There's places where you can see it less. But when you really scrutinize this floor, it's still a failure because the installation is the finish. So, there you go. Oh, the boss is calling. I gotta take the call. Have a good day, kids.